What's good, everyone? Welcome back to the Bearcat Den. It's Michael.
And Victoria back again with your weekly sports podcast covering NBA, NFL, MLB, and any other sports leagues.
Let's jump right in. So, All-Star break happened, and throughout the games that they have, Damian Lillard is a back-to-back three-point contest champion. Again, he's the first back-to-back since Jason Capono, I believe his name is, in 07 and 08. Like, what do you... I didn't think Dame was going to win it. I thought it was going to be Karl Anthony Towns, to be honest. Or maybe Brunson, maybe. I don't know. But what are your thoughts about that?
I think he had a good point. I mean, this season, his 3-point percent average was 34.1, which isn't bad. I mean, there are a few players that did better than him in that regard this season. Like, Towns did better by a lot. But I wasn't surprised he won. He had 4 buckets in a row. Second to last rack of balls. I mean, I like when they do it and it's just like, they just need the one more and they do it in like the last second. It's always the best.
And that kind of cuts into like our next thing with the Sabrina versus Steph Curry 3-point contest. And it kind of came down to that too.
It did.
To be honest.
Yeah. But, I mean, that was interesting because obviously it's the first crossover. I mean, they've been talking about it for a while, though.
Mm-hmm. No, yeah.
They've been challenging each other for a few seasons now.
Yeah. I mean, talking and doing is two completely separate things, but then I think by this actually happening with the WNBA and the NBA, like I said before, crossing over and doing something together, I think that's huge. And I think it's a big moment in NBA history, to be honest, because it kind of promotes the WNBA a lot more. It kind of shows that, hey, we could play on the same level as you guys, if not keep up to the amount of you guys. I think it was a great thing that they did that. Steph did win by 3, but...
Yeah, but she held her own. I mean, she tallied 26, the highest in any Stephen contest anyone's done.
Yeah, no, yeah, definitely.
So, she definitely held her own, proving to your point.
She tied Dame Lillard.
Yeah.
Actually winning it.
Exactly. So, it was good. It was good. I mean, obviously, we expected Curry to win. I mean, this season... He had 3,577 three-pointers.
That's a lot.
Yeah, exactly. It's a lot. 2 perfect racks.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you expected him to win, but it was still good to watch. And I think going to the point of whether or not the All-Star are pointless, people enjoy seeing the best play the best, even if it feels kind of just for show, just to sell. I still think it's worth continuing. And I think the crossover goes into that.
Yes.
Like, we're expanding, like, what the All-Star break can really be.
Like, I feel like people knew Steph was going to win, but they thought that Steph was going to win by a landslide, but obviously she kept it closer than what most people thought.
Yeah.
Listen, props to her. I really hope that they do keep this up, because if they keep this up, I think it's a great marketing promotion for the WNBA too. Gets more viewers, and who knows, maybe down the line we'll see some of the best WNBA players play against some of the best NBA players in like an all-star tag team, I'd say. Or maybe like a collaboration between the two.
Yeah.
But I think this is the first step into a door of multiple opportunities that they could spin off of. But I think it's a great thing that they've done this.
Yeah, I do too. And like you said, the score was close. Like 29-26 is pretty good.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not a landslide.
No, yeah.
It's interesting. It definitely shows promise and potential. It would be really cool if they played not just like men v women, but like integrated, kind of like East-West.
Yeah.
In both teams. That would be interesting.
No, yeah, I agree, 100%. And also respect for Sabrina for also saying she wants to keep it a fair playing field. Because I believe the WNBA rules and the NBA rules are somewhat different. I think the 3-point line's a little different, and I think the balls are a little smaller, I think. But she's like, no, I want a fair playing field.
Yeah.
And she did phenomenal.
It's interesting, like, how the rules are different, and yet she held her own.
Yeah.
With the fair playing rule, it makes you wonder if there's a point to having them be different in the first place. I wonder if, you know, as the All-Star, if it continues with crossovers, if it'll end up changing the rules in women's basketball.
Oh, like to the...
Just
standards, like
one standard.
Yeah, like the NBA standards, like same 3-point line, same size ball, and all that. Listen,
obviously they can do it.
No, yeah, Sabrina just proved it.
Yeah,
I think it's going down a rabbit hole a little bit because it's just the beginning of what they're doing, and obviously as years go on, things are gonna start integrating, things are gonna start crossing over, like rules, and possibly what we said before with the WNBA All Stars and the NBA All Stars teaming up together. and possibly integrating them together. I think there's a lot, like I said before, there's a lot of opportunity there, and I just think that like it's the beginning.
I think it's the beginning, but it's going to be a while before we see.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, this is a small step, but it's going to be a very slow trot.
Small but big.
Small but big. Small but big, but I think it'll be a while before we see any more huge.
Yeah, yeah.
I think they're there, and we'll progress towards them eventually, but it's not going to be for a few seasons at least.
Yeah.
For sure.
Agreed, 100%. And then also, we have the big All-Star game. The East ended up winning 211 to 186 over the West.
Yeah, most ever in an All-Star game. It's pretty impressive.
Yep. And then Damian Lillard again wins the All-Star MVP with a stat line of 39 points and 6 assists, outweighing Karl Anthony Towns' 50 points that he dropped, which is unbelievable.
It is, and I mean, this is another to my point where, you know, people can say like these games are kind of redundant. I think they're great because if you look at those two as players individually, career-wise, Towns has played 13 games with over 40 points. Lillard has played 15 games with over 50 plus points. I mean, their averages for this season alone. Honestly, Lillard getting the MVP, good for him. Scored 39 points this game. His average for this season was 24 points. So he showed it
on the court.
On the court.
Yeah.
You know, he didn't let it just being an all-star. Like, he put it in. But Towns, they're similar. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. They're not that far off. So I like seeing, you know, you take two people, same weight, and then just seeing who comes up on top. No, I think it keeps it interesting, and I think it's always a good game.
Oh, agreed 100%. I think it showcased everybody's abilities and talents, especially like Tyrese Halliburton, considering his playmaking abilities, his passing abilities, his shooting abilities. I think he went 5 in a row from 3, I believe, something like that. But it just proves how the newer generation and how these kids are just getting better by the minute. And I think the NBA is in good hands after LeBron's gone, but considering he said he's 50-50 about a farewell tour afterwards. But everybody brings up the question now, like, is the All-Star game, like, pointless nowadays if there's no meaning besides an incentive?
I would argue the incentive is enough.
The pay incentive?
Not just, I think it's more than the pay incentive, though. I think when you know you're a good player, you know you're a team favorite, fan favorite, that even the people that don't like your team like you know, it's enough, but it's not enough at the same time. And I think from a player's perspective and a fan's perspective, it's nice to see people be challenged as individuals. Yes. And I think that's what the All-Star game gives the opportunity for, is yes, you're on a team still, but it's really the best of the best playing against the best of the best. In that cliche as it is, it's still a motivator, I would say, to really just put it all on the court. Yeah.
I mean, I also feel like I agree with you 100%, but I also feel like that the players on the court are just like letting their guard down. Like if we go back to like the earlier days, I'm assuming like around like when like Jordan played in like like the early to late 90s, it used to be more of like an NBA game rather than just like, how do I put it?
I get what you're saying. Yeah. It's a little bit more show.
Yeah. Now. But what I'm trying to say is that I feel like that if there was some sort of other incentive besides for salary, like I believe it was this year, like every 3-point shot that was made was a certain dollar amount towards a charity. See, something like that, 1,000%, I agree with. And I feel like that players should play harder for that rather than just letting the points go, because like the points shoot up the board.
Yeah.
I'd say. So like I understand they want to do it for the dollar amount for the charity donation, but I also feel like that it should be more competitive. That's what I was trying to say.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like there's always room to make it more competitive, make it more of some type of sustenance, whether that's, you know, the incentive monetary being towards a charity or a movement, or just like the game in general. Yeah. But I wouldn't go as far, like even with that in mind, to say that it's completely obsolete where it is. I think it can definitely find ways to make the game a little bit more complex, a little bit more challenging.
Yes.
But I think like where it stands now, it's not quite at the point of full criticism. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
I believe the point of the All-Star game was like trying to the idea of the Olympic Dream Team, and like I feel like that's what they're kind of pushing, but in the NBA. And obviously it stuck around for so long. Yeah. And I think if they this year with the 3-point incentive to charity, that's a great thing, but the thing is that why wasn't that ever implemented beforehand?
That's a great question, and it's kind of surprising too when you think of how often just most professional sports push some type of, I mean, like we see in October with breast cancer awareness.
Yes.
Like there's always like some push or, you know, motivation to show that there's like a care for a community.
Yes.
And it is interesting how it hasn't been till recently that we've integrated this into the All-Star.
No, agreed. I mean, listen, even in NFL too, like the Pro Bowl, same exact way, instead of tackling, it became flag. So if you're going to do something like a flag football game, make it for a charitable donation. And I feel like that's where you would get like more of an audience as well. Because it would be like, hey, like these sports organizations are playing for a good cause once a year. And I feel like it would be a great idea.
I think so too, especially from a business perspective.
Yes.
Because as it stands right now, the All-Star game is really just important to basketball fans.
Yeah.
Where it's like, yeah, let me see my favorite players from all my teams play against each other. Which it's like, okay, yeah, that has a big enough audience.
Yeah.
But you're right, you would expand it beyond that, where it's like something everyone can kind of care about because of that.
No, agreed 100%. And that goes for all sports too.
Yeah, definitely.
So a little bit of news about the Brooklyn Nets. They fired their head coach. Well, shouldn't say fired. They dismissed their head coach, Jack Vaughn. Cam Thomas was asked about it. He thought it was a prank at first. And he didn't believe it, from what I saw. But what do you think about this dismissal?
I have less feelings about the dismissal itself and more about who is going to come up and take his place. Because right now we have Kevin Ollie, former UConn player, took them to the championship 2014. But I don't think that they're going to want to move in-house again. So I think it's going to stay a temporary position. And I mean, like, people are talking about Dudley taking his place. I'm not sure. I think it's possible. Obviously, you know, he played in Brooklyn during 18-19 season. He's a fan favorite. And it's, you know, pivotal to have, you know, the experience. But he also doesn't have that much experience as a head coach.
Yes. No, I completely agree with you. I think, like, a position that they should lean towards is former Bucks head coach, maybe Mike Budenholzer. He has a championship mentality. He's won the championship before. The reason why it didn't work out in the Bucks was because of the usage of Dame. But besides that, I don't see anything bad about that hire. I feel like that's the route they should go in. And considering Jack Vaughn wanted to rotate around Ben Simmons, apparently, rather than their stars being Cam Thomas and obviously Mikal Bridges. But this also brings up the question of, like, okay, like, this would be what, their third head coach in the last 5 years? No, sorry, fourth. Because you had Kenny Atkinson, 18-19. Then you had Steve Nash, which got fired after the Big Three failure. And then Jack Vaughn. And now you're going to have a fourth guy within, what, a 6-year span? Like, it leaves a sour taste into people's mouths. I feel like you have the ability to bring in superstars as well, considering like who's been on that team at the time. And I feel like it's kind of more of a landing spot destination than most people think.
Yeah, for sure. I think they might take that route. What do you think about them maybe potentially choosing for HC Will Weaver?
I like that hire a lot. I mean, listen, he's also has a winning mentality too. He has a winning culture underneath his belt. So, like, I feel like that it'd be another great fit for him as a coach for the Nets.
Yeah, I think so too, because, you know, he's played across various college programs, NBA teams. I think he has the championship mentality, and he's used to working with young players.
Yes.
Which I think for the Nets, considering the direction they're going in, the way their team is built right now, would be good for them.
Especially everyone's hitting like their primes now and everyone's still younger. And also there's a lot of untapped potential. Obviously the Ben Simmons $40 million contract is done after this year, I believe. Yeah. And so you have over $45 million to play with. And possibly not this year, but the following year. You could possibly add a superstar or like a star of some point in the following year. So I think it's set up in a great position, like free agency wise, but I think draft wise it's still rough water. I feel like, considering the whole thing with the KD, Kyrie, and Harden thing. I feel like it's just a repeat of the Paul Pierce and Kevin Garnett era. But again, I think Brooklyn would be a great landing spot for like a winning mentality head coach. Yeah. And it's needed considering what the culture is here. It's a young, hungry organization and team.
Yeah, and they need a coach that not only matches that energy, but also knows how to direct it constructively.
Agreed.
It's one thing to have passion, that's great. But if you don't know what to do with it on the court, then it's just wasted energy.
Agreed.
And I think he has the experience to know how to direct them constructively with that.
So I don't know, like, if you heard about what Kevin Durant said on a recent podcast about him not joining the Knicks back in 2019. It was because the Knicks weren't cool enough. I don't know what that means, but I thought that was wild when he said the Knicks weren't cool enough. But the thing is that if he did go to the Knicks, would it be like a superstar destination landing spot? Because I feel like the culture would have shifted even more. I feel like more superstar players would have wanted to come to the Knicks because of KD. And obviously Jalen Brunson too, so that would have been the 1-2 punch right there. And then I feel like that you would have had a lot better role players as well, considering the talent he would have kind of brought in with him.
Yeah.
In stardom.
Yeah, I think that's true. It definitely would, but I hate that it just contributes to what he said being true.
Yeah.
This idea of, I don't know, like something about coming out and saying, you know, the team sucks and that's why I don't want to join and like become a part of the team. It has some validity, sure. Nobody wants to join a team that's a little
yeah.
But I feel like as if you know you're a good player, you kind of want to go in there and make a change.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's to your discretion, whether you want to go in and make a change or join a team that's already there. That's up to you. If you don't want to play hero, that's fine. I don't know.
I mean, also, I think he was more directing towards, like, the locker room at the time, rather than the overall organization, I feel like.
Yeah.
Because I think he wanted it his way, and he kind of got his way in Brooklyn, because he wanted Kyrie here at the time, and he got Kyrie. The year after, he wanted James Harden, got him, and then, obviously, we know the result of that. So, and now he's in Phoenix, and, like, that's another question mark, what's going on in Phoenix now, but that's besides the point. So, I think that he just wanted his way, to be honest.
Yeah, and I think to your point too about talking about the Knicks not necessarily as a team but as a brand, he was kind of talking about Dolan just as an owner.
Okay.
Which like we know is like notoriously not
the greatest
guy.
Yeah.
So I definitely get if that was his point to kind of draw attention to that. Like you said, the energy in the locker room less than the energy on the court. But it's just the phrasing is so... I mean, it's funny. It misses at the same time.
Yeah, like, you wouldn't expect that coming from, like, a superstar like Kevin Durant. Like,
yeah.
It's not cool. Like...
Cool?
You're technically playing in, what, the best arena in the world.
Yeah.
Some people would say, and some people would mostly agree with. Like, that's the biggest spotlight right there. Center of all stages, and you didn't want to go there?
Yeah, it's not the classiest thing to say, but do you really expect that from him either? And I don't mean that in a bad way, but like, no. I mean, you kind of do when you allocate that much fame.
I mean, not even just that. He would be the face of the franchise right now, realistically speaking. I mean, listen, he did bail out on an organization already, being the Thunder, to join the Warriors at the time. But again, that's the past. But
the past. He's a little bratty, you know?
Yeah.
He gets his way.
Exactly, and I think that's why he went to Brooklyn, because he got his way. And with Sean Marks and Joe Tsai, he was like, listen, I want it this way. Nothing.
Yeah.
And that is a wrap. Thank you for listening to this week's episode of the Bearcat Den. Make sure you tune in next week for more. See ya.